All right, I'm joined now by Eric DiCenzo-Crotallo, who is the VP of Talent, Learning, and Communications at Din Tai Fung. Eric, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me.
I am excited to have you here. You have, I think, such a great background of experience in the talent development world, especially working several years at Chipotle, which is a big and famous brand that so many people know. And I know you did a lot of really interesting things there from a talent perspective. And then now at Din Tai Fung, which is another restaurant chain where you're dealing with a lot of frontline workers and thinking about how do you help upskill and develop people in that sort of setup. So I'm excited to dig into some of those things. But before we do, I'd love to just start with a little bit of your background. Like, how did you get into the talent development space in the first place?
Yeah, it was by accident for sure. I was an operator in restaurants and nightclubs for several years. Really loved operations. Joined Chipotle in operations as a multi-unit leader and kind of grew my career into learning and development and really focused on the operations side of learning and development for multi-unit leaders.
Hmm.
And in 2018, Chipotle went through a significant transition where we brought in Brian Niccol, the new CEO, and he reorged the entire corporate population. And as part of that reorg, I was moved into HR, begrudgingly moved into HR. And it was similar work, but really took on more of that people first focus. And I immediately fell in love with kind of focusing on individual success, helping people unlock their potential and create capabilities, and really just decided that this was now my passion. So I kind of went from this focus on operations and really career goal of being a chief operations
Hmm.
officer to now falling in love with people and talent and all things around helping people thrive and
Hmm.
pursue their passion.
Yeah. Interesting. You mentioned when you started getting into some learning and development in operations, you said it was for multi-unit leaders. Could you tell me more about
Yeah.
that? I don't know what that is.
Yeah. So district managers, area managers at
Okay.
Chipotle, they're referred to as field leaders. They're overseeing 8 to 10 locations depending on the market. And so at Chipotle specifically, the majority of that population is internally promoted. And so you have people who are strong operators, but they don't have the people leadership capability, or they're not highly skilled in that area. And so Scott Boatwright, the then chief restaurant officer, really wanted to create a program around upskilling and upleveling that population. And so we launched a program called Cultivate University that was focused on field leader success. And we brought that first year every single field leader into Denver, Colorado for a week long learning program, a little bit of operations focus, but really, really focus on the soft skills, the leadership development, teaching them things like communication styles, culture of accountability, and really helping them develop their ability to lead others and lead through others.
Mm. So it sounds like that was the first time they had done something like that. How many field leaders are we talking about bringing them together in Denver?
Oh, 2018, there were probably 300, 350 field leaders, and we did all above restaurants. So it was field leader, team director, and at that time, executive team directors. So I think that first year we put about 420 or so, 425 individuals through that program.
Okay. I hadn't planned on talking about this, but I'm kind of curious. How did you think about designing a program that was going to be really valuable to that group, taking them out of the field for however many days it was and bringing that number of people together? It's a pretty big endeavor.
Yeah. So, we built out this team of professionals who focus on different areas of the curriculum. And we knew that we wanted to base it in culture of accountability, which is a book that really helps people understand how to create beliefs that drive or create experiences that drive beliefs that lead to actions and results. And so we base the curriculum around that and really use that as our common thread through all of the modules, focused on, how people were coaching, how they were providing feedback. Communication style was big, putting them through a DISC assessment and really talking to them and helping them understand leadership is one to one, not one to many. And so you have to adapt your leadership style. Situational leadership, SB or SL2. There were so many modules that we really crammed into that 1 week. But I think what you saw, starting with 2018, and a lot was going on at Chipotle at that time. We brought in a new CEO, there were new initiatives, but 2018 was really that turning point for Chipotle. And if you look even at the stock price, which is one indicator of success, it started to rise pretty quickly thereafter. Brian Nickel joined, Cultivate University launched. We transitioned from Denver, Colorado to Newport Beach, California as our headquarters. So there was a lot going on, but I think foundationally, getting excellent at executing in the field in our restaurants through leadership development was critical to that.
Yeah, sounds like it. Let's talk about some of the other things you did at Chipotle. I remember when we talked before, a few of the things that you had done were building out performance management and succession planning. Can you talk about was there anything in place before, and was that something that you kind of had to start from scratch?
Yeah, performance management was interesting. And, having been a field leader at Chipotle, having lived the experience of a field leader going through performance reviews, it was not effective. So you had hourly team members who would have twice per year performance reviews, and it was a 6-page Word document that you would fill out, that the general manager would fill out. And each restaurant at that time had 25 to 35 employees. And so you had a GM spending all of this time writing these performance reviews. And with turnover the way it is in this industry, by the time you finish their performance review, 30% of them were no longer with the company. And so when I got into this position where one of the things I was tasked with was creating a new performance management program, I blew it up. And I said, hey, listen, we've got to make this simple to execute. We have to make it so that the managers not only are providing real time, in the moment feedback, shoulder to shoulder, but that they're able to provide a holistic assessment of the employee, the team member's performance over the past 6 months. And so what we ended up with is a very simple 1-page performance review template, build it into our HRIS. It was easy to execute. It combined both the performance aspect and the compensation aspect. So you were rating their performance and assigning them a merit increase at the same time. And it just really simplified the way that we were thinking about performance appraisal and focusing more on the conversation than on the task itself. And I think even in the RSC, the above restaurant leadership population, it was the same. We implemented 4x4 conversations, 4 questions, 4 times a year that focused on your performance and your development. 2 of the questions looked back into the previous quarter, 2 looked forward. And for the hourly population, it was 4x2 conversations, 4 questions, 2 times per year. And the focus was on the conversation, building that connection, providing coaching and feedback, and focusing on their future development. Chipotle, still to this day, I think they just issued their sustainability report yesterday, and they're planning 350 to 370 new restaurants this year. They have to have a deep pipeline
Yeah.
of talent ready to staff those restaurants. And so that development piece was incredibly important to being able to continue opening restaurants at the clip that we were.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm curious what some of those questions were, because I like that you said the whole idea was to create more conversation. So curious what some of the questions were, and how did you prepare leaders to have better conversations, doing more coaching and feedback versus just, criticizing them for whatever they hadn't been doing right lately?
Yeah, recognition was a big part of it, right? People think of feedback as just being critical. The
Mhm.
reality is, feedback is an opportunity for us to also acknowledge and recognize contributions. And so the questions focused on what did you accomplish last quarter? How did you demonstrate our values and leadership behaviors last quarter? What are you committed to achieving next quarter? And what are your development goals for the next quarter? And so, really, it created this space where team members, managers could talk to their leader about what they were most proud of, what they were committed to achieving in the next quarter, how they were thinking about their development. And for a lot of our team members, this was the first opportunity for them to share what their career goal was. And at Chipotle, I think the difference is that you can go from being an hourly employee making, I don't know, today maybe $22, $23 per hour
Mhm.
to a six-figure income in really 24 months. That
Hmm.
is how quick development happens from an hourly team member to a general manager. And
Wow.
you're running a $2.5 to $3 million restaurant. It's quite remarkable. And there was somebody not long ago who said the quickest way to propel your career is to work at Chipotle
Hmm.
because you have this opportunity to go from an hourly position where you're maybe rolling a burrito to leading that 2.5 to 3 million average unit volume restaurant.
Yeah. That's amazing. And so I would imagine we mentioned field leadership that you were implementing training for managers, leadership development to encourage them to have more of those coaching conversations so that they're developing people and celebrating more of the wins, not just criticizing the mistakes.
Yeah, and it was a partnership between, learning and development, talent development, and our field-based people experience partners. They were on the ground, they were working with leaders day in and day out, reinforcing the curriculum that we were teaching through learning and development sessions, through Cultivate University or other programs that we had put in place to help them become better leaders, better communicators. Coaching and feedback was really important. Using different models, helping people understand the feedback sandwich doesn't work. So
Mm.
don't go down that road. If you're going to provide feedback, keep it focused on things like situation, behavior, and impact. When you're coaching somebody, really focus on the behaviors that you want them to demonstrate and focus on a positive spin on it. Coaching, there's a very big difference between feedback and coaching, and I think for a lot of leaders they confuse the two, or they don't understand the difference. And so we focused heavily on helping our leaders understand, when you're coaching someone, it's to help them get better in the future. When you're
Hmm.
providing feedback, oftentimes it's feedback in the moment. You're correcting an action or recognizing them for doing something above and beyond, for demonstrating the values, demonstrating a leadership behavior. And so I think holistically, we were coming at it from really empowering those leaders, upskilling them, elevating their ability to coach others, develop others, and grow talent across the organization.
Right. Yeah, makes complete sense. And then you also mentioned before that you implemented something called Always On, Always Listening, the Voice of the Employee program. Can you tell me more about that?
Yeah, this was an interesting one. So we had been utilizing a third-party vendor to do employee engagement surveys.
Hmm.
Um, and it was your standard every 2 years, let's ask this, long list of questions. And then months later, you see the results. And by the time you see the results, the data is aged. It's not really relevant anymore. And so I started to think about it differently. And we were going through an RFP for a new employee experience partner. And we decided to go with Qualtrics and really developed an incredible relationship with not only the sales team at Qualtrics, but a lot of their data scientists, their program managers. And we came together with this idea of how do we get insights into managers' hands in near real time. And so we created this program by which feedback was collected in various ways. That always on, always listening piece. Employees were welcome to provide feedback at any time, not just that once every other year survey.
Mm,
We created surveys throughout the life cycle. So I called it moments that matter.
mm,
Think of, your month of anniversary, your anytime you were promoted, anytime you transitioned into a new role or a new restaurant. Um, and so we were collecting all this data and really able to track trends over time. And so you were equipping leaders with near real time information and empowering them to take action on the insights. I think oftentimes, companies get this great idea to collect feedback, but then they don't do anything with it.
hmm
And so the credibility of the program is jeopardized because it's like, okay, well, I can share my feedback, but no one's going to read it. Nobody's going to take action on it. We got really, really good at action planning. We got really, really good at talking about the things that we weren't doing well and the things we were doing well. And, I credit Brian Nickel, Marisa Andrada. They were really, really passionate about being transparent with everyone and saying, hey, we heard you. We can do better at X, Y, or Z. And here are the steps we're taking immediately to fix this, to address this. And so, the program really evolved into leveraging those insights for everything. COVID, we collected such great insights from our team members about returning to office. And, we had this obligation to support our restaurants because they were still open, they were still serving food. And so what we saw was our restaurant support center team, they were eager to get back into the office and to support the restaurants, because they knew that our restaurant teams were working through COVID. They were putting the best efforts forward, taking care of our frontline healthcare workers, all of the people who were helping us through the pandemic. And so just a lot of really great insights. And I learned so much through launching the Voice of Employee program. And I've talked about it a lot. I've shared this story so many times where it's taking something that was very reactive in the past
hmm
to really empowering people to be proactive and to get near real time information, data, and use that data to make better decisions that truly have an impact on the employee experience.
Yeah, that data piece, something we probably still don't talk about enough because there's so much data out there, but getting really specific about and targeted with where and when and who are we getting data from, and then what are we actually doing with that to show them that we care about their answers and we're doing something with the information they're giving us so that we can solve these problems that a lot of employees might be facing.
Yeah, and I think there's this push. Data is everywhere, right? And so for organizations like Din Tai Fung, like Chipotle, you're collecting data from your employees, you're collecting data from your guests, and you have this financial data. And the real power comes when you marry the three and understand that value chain. And I
Mhm.
say it all the time, your guest experience will never surpass your team member experience. And
Mhm.
so if you can understand what's driving team member engagement, how that's impacting the guest experience, and what impact that has on your financial results, now you've unlocked this powerful information or data to really understand what levers to pull in order to ultimately improve all three of those areas. And we did a lot of great work. I mean, there were some interesting findings at Chipotle, things that you would have never thought were connected,
Hmm.
but that really were impacting that entire value chain from the team member, guest, and financial.
Can you give an example of something you wouldn't have expected, but actually was connected?
Yeah, I think something that still to this day, I would love to understand better is we found that higher favorable a team member was about the direction the executive team was taking the organization, the more accurate their digital orders were in the restaurant.
Huh.
And so you're like, okay, well, if they're engaged and they're excited about the direction of the company, are they putting more discretionary effort into things like digital orders to make sure orders are going out accurately? And so that impacts the guest experience. And
Yeah.
if that guest is having a great takeout experience, well, they're going to order
You're going to come
more
back.
often.
Yeah.
And assuming that your margins are higher on digital orders, now you're seeing the impact that that has on the bottom line.
Yeah. So if leaders do a great job of getting their people on board with the vision of where things are going, then people work essentially harder or smarter. They're more effective in their roles. They're more accurate with orders, and customers are happier and they do more business, and it ultimately leads to more revenue. That's a pretty nice connection.
Yeah, it took me a little while to connect the dots there. But once we did, I mean, listen, I think it was important for us, and our team did a great job. The internal communications team did a great job of really communicating the direction of the company and tying everything back to the purpose and our values. And I think for a lot of companies, the values and purpose are a piece of paper on the wall, a plaque on the wall. I really credit Brian and the executive team at Chipotle during that time of bringing the purpose and values to life. It wasn't just corporate speak, it was lived through their actions day in and day out.
Mm. All right, let's transition to Din Tai Fung. So then you came to this much smaller but still quickly growing restaurant chain. And I know one of the things you did coming in was establishing more formal HR practices because there weren't a lot of those before you came. So tell me about how you went about establishing those, and especially thinking about providing more talent development when I would imagine I'm sure there was some basic technical training, but maybe there wasn't a lot before then.
Yeah, as is typical in restaurants that grow from a single unit to quickly grow to today 17, 18, 19 restaurants. A lot of promotions were based off of their ability to do a job well, a task well. So they were great at running a restaurant.
Hmm.
You're now a general manager.
Yeah.
Well, doesn't translate to being able to lead people. Your technical skills are excellent, but your leadership skills, there are some opportunities or growth. And so, we brought in a SVP of people, Tawanda Starms, who I had worked with previously at Chipotle. And so it was unique in coming into Din Tai Fung, where you had the SVP of people and the VP of talent learning and communications sitting on the executive leadership team.
Hmm.
Generally, my role would report into the head of HR, the head of people, but the Yang family, who own Din Tai Fung North America, were so focused on creating world class learning development, people development, that coming into the building, they were like, no, we want you to be part of the executive team.
Wow.
We know how important this is to continue growing the brand. We've got to invest in this.
Hmm.
And so, in partnership with Tawanda and her team, we've built out performance management. We've built out a lot of new EVP programs. We've launched Elevate You, which is an English language learning program for our team, fully funded by the company. And we just continue to take a look at processes and programs and use what we had learned in our previous experience to elevate, to enhance. We're focused on empowering our leaders. Everything was top-down decision previously, and that's normal. There's nothing wrong with that in a small restaurant company. But now that we've expanded and we've grown so much, and we have huge plans to continue growing, we've got to empower our leaders to manage their workforce, to lead their people, to grow and develop their people. And so we're making the tools and resources available, teaching them how to use them. And then we're letting them go and run wild and really focus on developing their talent in their restaurants. And we're coming along and we're doing some programmatic things. We're creating some leadership development programs, emerging leader programs, things like that. But really, for us, it's about as we continue to scale, we've got to be able to empower our people to grow and develop others. And I think one of the biggest observations I had coming into the organization is that we had a lot of SOPs and a lot of process documentation, but we weren't teaching people, we weren't empowering them to use tools and resources. We were telling them, this is what you do. Mm-hmm. And so we've really turned that around to focus on them using these tools and resources to elevate their restaurant, elevate their teams, make sure that they're focused on the right things. We just launched performance and development conversations, similar to what I've done in the past. These are quarterly conversations, but they're focused on performance and development. And I think they marry well together because, again, we're growing. We need to have a deep pipeline of talent to continue growing. And so, yes, we will implement performance standards and pay for performance philosophy and whatnot. But it also comes alongside this piece of development where we're investing in our people. We're equipping them with the soft skills, the leadership skills. We're teaching them how to develop others and really, kind of expanding our reach through our people who are leading the restaurants today.
You mentioned pay for performance. I think you mentioned that last time we talked as well. And a lot of people may know what that means, but I'm curious, is that saying we're not just paying you hourly, but we're going to reward you for hitting certain performance milestones? Like, what does that look like?
Yeah, I think it comes at it from a couple of different perspectives. Previously everything was tenure based. So if you were here, you got a pay increase. And so that wasn't driving the right behavior, right? So people were becoming kind of complacent. They weren't innovating. They weren't pushing forward. They knew that if they just kept their job, they were going to get that twice per year pay increase.
Right.
And so we've really implemented goal setting and we've set KPIs for our operators. And so, as they attain those goals and those KPIs, they're rewarded. They're rewarded base pay merit increase. They're rewarded through bonus. And there are other opportunities for non-monetary recognition in total rewards, enhancing our benefit programs, turning on things like Elevate You English language learning. And so your top performers, your people who are really contributing to the success of the business are going to be rewarded more so than, say, people who are just along for the ride.
Mm-hmm. You also mentioned an English language learning program. A lot of people might be surprised to hear that, given you're a U.S. company based in Southern California. What's the impetus for that? Why put that in place?
Yeah. So, the company started 25 years ago, and proud to say that there are still people here who started at that first restaurant 25 years ago. And predominantly back of house employees, but there are some front of house employees, and there are even managers who are taking advantage of this English language learning program. And it may not be that they don't speak English today. It may be that they want to enhance their English language comprehension or their ability to write or understand English language. And I'll be honest with you, we were expecting less than 1% of our employees to participate in this program. We just turned it on. The first cohort started this week. There are 180 employees or team members who have signed up and enrolled in this first cohort,
Hmm.
which represents like 4% of
Hmm.
our workforce, which is great. I'm ecstatic about it. And as I travel to restaurants and I talk to leaders and I talk to team members, they just see this as such a huge step for the company and real proof that we're bringing our EVP to life. You know, Tawanda has worked on this EVP of we care. We
Hmm.
care about your career success, your well-being, and your future opportunities. And Elevate You has really become an avenue for us to show that investment in caring for our people.
Yeah. I know you said 17 stores around different locations. You said a cohort of 280 people. Are they doing it virtually?
180 people, and yes,
Huh.
so we partnered with
Okay.
Guild Education, and so it is a cohort style virtual learning program. They have an academic coach. They have access to on demand learning. It's really a robust program, and then reinforced with some on the job support in their restaurants as well.
Oh, that's really cool. And I'm sure all those people appreciate that opportunity to help them improve their language skills. I guess the last thing to ask you about, we talked about this a little bit briefly last time you and I talked, but career development, something that of course I'm very interested in and passionate about. How do you think about career development and help people think about what opportunities are available to them as the organization continues to grow and they grow with it? You sound like you mentioned there's quite a few people that have end up hanging around a long time. So hopefully that means there's some good benefits for them.
Yeah. So, we continue to look at different programs to grow people's career. We know that we're going to continue opening restaurants in the United States, in Canada, and we really want to focus on that internal promotion. We want to reward our people with opportunities to run amazing restaurants, and so part of our talent attraction is um, grow your career with us.
Mhm.
And we're launching this program that's all about growing your career. We're defining career paths for our people. We're hosting some sessions, some just open conversations with leaders throughout the organization who have grown their career either at Din Tai Fung or outside of Din Tai Fung, to talk to our team members about what they can do to continually invest in themselves. And I'm a huge proponent. We're each the pilot of our own career. Now, Din Tai Fung has to come along as that co-pilot, and we're going to help you navigate. But really, you have to take ownership. You have to have the desire, the engagement, the aspiration to grow your career. We're going to make the tools and resources available to you. We're going to make sure that you have time in your day while you're working in a restaurant, no matter what your role is,
Hmm.
to dedicate to bettering yourself and growing your skills and your abilities. But at the end of the day, it's up to you to really be in the driver's seat.
I couldn't agree more. I'm all about teaching and inspiring people to own their careers and love when organizations are supporting them with that. A few quick questions. Eric, thinking about your own career, what's been your biggest accomplishment or proudest moment so far?
Oh, I think launching Cultivate University and an emerging leader program at Chipotle, Leadership Evolution and Development, or the LEAD program, are up there. Launching the Always On, Always Listening program was incredible. And I would say now, thinking back over the past year that I've been with Din Tai Fung, it's really been seeing my team grow. I am a huge proponent of unlocking potential, creating capability. That's my personal mission. And so, just since joining Din Tai Fung, being able to promote people who were stagnant in their career, remotivate them, get them excited. I have a director of field training who's just absolutely phenomenal and has so much potential. And every time I talk to her, I just find myself more excited and motivated and inspired. I'm really excited about this chapter at Din Tai Fung about working for the Yang family and what we're going to build together. I would say, over the past 10 years, I've had so many career milestones and highlights that really make me appreciate the opportunities I've been afforded.
Yeah, a lot to be proud of and a lot to be excited about. On the flip side, Eric, what's one of your biggest mistakes or failures in your career, and what did you learn from it?
Yeah, I think for me, there was a period in time where I thought I could do it alone, and
Mm,
I wasn't bringing partners along in the journey. And it wasn't because I I didn't think that they could do it or that they were incapable. It was this just silo mentality of I can get it done quicker, I can get it done better. And I really missed out on diversity of thought, diversity of experience. And so I'm really, really careful now to always slow down, look around, and figure who can I bring along in this program project journey, because honestly, uh, we deliver better results when we collaborate and we create kind of a diverse thought process around programs, processes, and initiatives.
100%. Eric, what would you say is one of the biggest challenges in talent development today?
I think we're in competition for talent every day and helping people understand that, um, yeah, you can go to another company and maybe make $2, $3 more per hour for a frontline employee, but they may not have the opportunity for growth. They may not have the benefits, the perks. And so it's helping people understand the total rewards package, and really understanding how to get from here to where they want to go. And that path is not always linear, but oftentimes, if you are open to new experiences, trying new things, in my case, moving from operations to HR,
Yeah.
you can really expand your abilities, capabilities, and career prospects.
Is there a trend that you're following or excited about in talent development today?
I mean, I think everyone is wrapped around AI, right?
Right.
How is AI going to help us deliver higher quality, faster results? And so I'm really invested in kind of the research around AI, leveraging AI for things like coaching, skills development, and also just, understanding the impact of AI on talent and on organizations. And unfortunately, I think AI is going to replace some roles that are today held by humans. And we've got to adapt to that. We've got to be able to reskill, upskill, help people grow their skill set so that if their job is replaced by AI, machine learning, any of this new technology, that there's a place for them, whether it's at their current organization or another organization, but making sure that we're upskilling them and preparing for that.
Yeah, 100%. Eric, is there a book that you often recommend or has made a big impact for you?
Radical candor.
Mm,
I struggled for a while in providing clear, concise feedback, and that book probably is the one book that unlocked my ability to provide clear, concise feedback to others.
absolutely love that. All right. And what else was I going to ask you? Is there a tool, an app, a platform, anything you use that you really love that makes your job easier?
Can I say ChatGPT? Is that
You
is
can
that
say ChatGPT. Yeah. You have to say how you use it. What do you like about it?
I think ideation on ChatGPT is a great tool. I think some people over leverage it, and I've even in my own time have seen people just email me a project plan that you can tell is
Yes.
clearly
Yeah, by
generated from a
ChatGPT. Yeah.
ChatGPT. But I think that, much like any other resource, it is great for sparking ideas.
Hmm.
And then I would say, I still am leveraging ATD, SHRM, a lot of the industry specific tools, apps, resources. And I'm a data geek. So anything data, anything research oriented, that's how I spend my evenings. Not
Yeah.
really exciting, but it's informative, if nothing else.
You need a hobby. Eric, last question. You've accomplished a lot in your career. Found yourself in an executive role in talent development, which is amazing. For those out there in talent development who are looking for more ways to achieve, who are looking for ways to achieve more success in their own careers, what's one more piece of advice you would give?
I think oftentimes in the talent development space, we have our own agendas.
Hmm.
And that doesn't always translate and doesn't always help your case. Understand how you connect to your company's strategic priorities. What work can you do to really um, help others achieve the company's strategic priorities? How do you empower people, elevate their abilities to help them focus on and create stickiness around achieving those strategic priorities, those goals? If I had my way, I would do things my way. But the reality is that I work for a company and I owe them my best efforts to help them achieve their goals. And so, really, especially in this space, don't get married to your own ideas. Bring in others to help you think about and collaborate on solutions and make sure that they're aligned with the company's goals.
I like it. Eric, this has been fantastic. I learned so much today, and I know it's been valuable for our listeners as well. So thank you so much for coming on to share some of your experience and perspective on talent development. I appreciate it. And I look forward to staying in touch and talking more soon.
Awesome. Thank you so much for having me and look forward to chatting again soon.